common sense would dictate perhaps that people shouldn't be in a playground with a gun. That's a law that's on the books. I think that makes good common sense, and if they want to attack that, we're ready to fight and defend it. We also had legislation as it relates to some common sense consideration around other aspects of the proliferation of guns, and again, those mimic very similarly the dozens or the dozen plus other pieces of legislation that we have historically passed. Now, the one that's getting most attention, and I'll end with this, and then I'll pass it on to the Chief to talk about our gun stop program, our gun reduction unit, our redeployment of our investigative resources, our new gun seizure benchmarks that we're establishing today, the work we're going to be doing on Operation Impact with the CHP, and what the district attorney has in mind in terms of the issues associated with plea bargaining and issues of guns. But the one that seems to be driving frustration of the NRA is that we don't happen to believe that it's good public policy in public housing sites where crime and violence is among the highest in our city, and for that matter, respectively, cities across America, to say, hey, come on in, let everyone get a gun. We actually have a provision in the lease that, interestingly, the Bush administration has supported. Interestingly. Because any lease provisions as it relates to tenancy in public housing have to be approved by HUD. HUD is managed and organized and directed within the aegis of the current administration, the Bush administration, and its appointed director, designees. They approve the ability for housing authorities like San Francisco to add addendums in their lease. We did this in 2004, 2005, it was implemented. It seems to offend the senses of the National Rifle Association. With all due respect, it doesn't offend ours. And we will defend it if indeed they move forward with their intended assault on that freedom to keep people safe in public housing in San Francisco. Because if the call of the day is freedom, and give us our rights to freely protect our citizens and keep them safe in public housing as well. So that's the one that I imagine will garner disproportionate attention, and that has driven some of us to make some statements about how it would be desirous to see some of these proponents living in public housing for a month or two and come out of the experience and still maintain a point of view that they're asserting today. I would suggest they would start to think quite differently. So we're here because we recognize the proliferation of guns and gun violence. We're here because gun violence is increasing across this country. We're here because mayors across this country, from Mayor Bloomberg to Mayor Menino in Boston on down, recognize it and have recognized it for years. We're here because San Francisco continues to have an increase in the use of guns in violent crimes. With 62% of all the homicides in 2001, it's 80% today. That number, almost without exception, every year keeps going up. It's ready, fire, aim. People aren't using words to solve problems. They're not using baseball bats to solve problems. They're certainly not using fists, and they're no longer using knives like we used to use, and now they're using guns just because they were cut off in traffic, or someone looked at someone funny, cold cock them, mean mug them, the language that I hear. So they need to be killed, of course, some suggest, and make it easy for them to have a gun, so in their rage at that moment, they just simply pull out something from their pocket. Freedom. That's what we're fighting. Our rights to be protected as well. So I appreciate everyone being here. I'm sorry to be so animated about this, but you know, we've been here before. District Attorney and I have been here before, and it's an unfortunate day for this country and for cities like ours. And for the National Rifle Association, we just say, stay away. You have better things to do, better places to be. Let us run our city as we feel it should be run. Let us protect our citizens. And we are going to fight vigorously. And as we do in San Francisco, it is tradition and I'll pull this back to Kevin, who will introduce the chief and the district attorney. We will assert further efforts. We will not take 2 steps back without taking 3 steps forward. So we hope the NRA spends more resources on today's advancements and tomorrow's implementation of those new rules, which we will advance, because we won't quit until every gun comes off the streets of this city. And when it does, or when they do, we will be a much safer city because of it.